All those yet standing requested to please take your seats and do ensure that your cell phones are on the silent so as to avoid disturbances during the proceedings. Thank you for your cooperation. देवी और सज्जनों, बस कुछ ही अवधि में इस आयोजन का आरंभ होगा। आप सभी से अनुरोध है कृपया बैठ जाएं और अपने मोबाइल फोन साइलेंट पर रखें। आपके सहयोग के लिए अग्रिम धन्यवाद। A very good morning, everybody. Good morning. It gives me, Manasi, immense delight in extending a hearty welcome to all of you, especially the esteemed guests, distinguished dignitaries, and all you invitees who are present here for this extremely special event, celebration of India's first listing of non-profit organization, SGBS Unnati, on the SSE, that is the Social Stock Exchange. Ladies and gentlemen, we will commence with the national anthem. Kindly rise in its honor.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Jai Hind. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, today is a landmark in the Indian capital markets as it is witnessing a milestone that symbolizes the convergence of financial markets with the noble pursuit of social impact. This event is live across various social media and is being viewed by a fairly large number of people as it is a historic moment. Very shortly, we will commemorate the first listing on the Social Stock Exchange segment, which is a regulated platform that brings together social organizations and impact investors, donors. The platform promotes performance-oriented philanthropy. देवी और सज्जनों, एनएससी के शानदार एट्रियम में उपस्थित सभी का और जो हमें वर्चुअली देख रहे हैं उन सभी का मैं मानसी तहदिल से स्वागत करती हूँ। भारतीय परंपरा के अनुसार दीप प्रज्वलित कर इस आयोजन का आरंभ होगा और उद्घाटन होगा। In keeping with the Indian tradition, the function will be inaugurated by lighting the auspicious ceremonial lamp, and to do the honors, I invite Shri Ashwani Bhatia, whole-time member SEBI, Shri Ajit Kesri, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Madhya Pradesh, Dr. R. Balasubramaniam, Member HR, Capacity Building Commission, Government of India, Shri Ashish Kumar Chauhan, MD and CEO, NSE, Shri Raymond B. D'Souza, Chief General Manager, NABARD, Shri Viraj Joshi, AVP Regulatory and Policy, Zerodha, Shri Ramesh Swami, Founder Director, SGBS Unnati Foundation, and Shri Ram Krishna, Chief Business Development Officer, NSA. Srimati Vali Swami from SGBS Unnati Foundation will provide melodious accompaniment by singing in praise of the Lord for an obstacle-free and successful listing ceremony.
वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटिः समप्रभ।
वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जाने रे, पर दुखे उपकार करे तो ये मन अभिमान नाणे रे। वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे, सकल लोक मां सहुने वंदे, निंदा न करे तेनी रे। वाच काच मन निश्चल राखे, धन धन जननी तेनी रे। समदृष्टि ने तृष्णा त्यागी, पर स्त्री झेने मात रे। जिह्वा न थकी असत्य न बोले, पर धन नव झाले हाथ रे। मोह माया व्यापे नहीं जेने, दृढ़ वैराग्य जेना मन मारे। राम नाम सुन ताली लागे, सकल तीरथ तेना तन मारे। वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे, पीड़ पराई जाने रे। पर दुखे उपकार करे तो ये मन अभिमान नाने रे। वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे।
Having obtained divine blessings in the form of this prayer, I will call upon Shri Ashish Kumar Chauhan, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, NSE, for the welcome address.
Shri Ashwani Bhatia, Whole-Time Director SEBI, Shri Ajit Kesri, Additional Chief Secretary, Finance, Government of Madhya Pradesh, Shri Raymond D'Souza, Chief General Manager NABARD, Shri R. Balasubramaniam, Member HR Capacity Building Commission, Government of India, Shri S. Ramdurai, former CEO and MD of TCS and also Chairman of NSE's Committee on Social Stock Exchange. He is joining from Pune on video conference. Shri Ramesh Swami, Founder SGB Trust Unnati, Shri Arnab Chaudhary, Executive Vice President, Group Head, SBI CAPS, Shri Viraj Joshi, Shri Ashish Kacholia, Shri Govind Iyer, other distinguished dignitaries present, good morning and warm welcome to all of you for India's first listing on the Social Stock Exchange by SGB Trust Unnati. It is truly an honor to stand before you today as we embark on a significant journey exploring the scope of Social Stock Exchange in reshaping the landscape of philanthropy and impact investing in India. During the budget session of 2019, the vision for an SSE was cast, a vision that is no longer a distant dream, but a tangible reality that we celebrate today. I am reminded of the words of our Honorable Finance Minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji, of taking the capital markets closer to the masses and meet various social welfare objectives related to inclusive growth and financial inclusion. National Stock Exchange started operations in the year 1994 as the first public digital infrastructure of India, and we are entering into the 30th year of our operations this year. In the last 29 years of NSE's operations, the market capitalization of India has gone up by more than 80 times, from rupees 4 lakh crore to rupees 33 lakh crore, making it the fourth largest market in the world. NSE has reached 99.85% of all PIN codes in India, with 8.35 crore unique investors, representing 17% of India's households directly investing through NSE. NSE's flagship index Nifty crossed 21,000 recently, is an example of strong macroeconomic fundamentals and people's confidence in the trust markets of India. NSE listed companies create social impact in the form of wealth creation, job creation, and overall economic growth through common persons' participations in the markets. With the listing on Social Stock Exchange, the impact is going to increase manifold. SSEs represent a unique approach to impact investment, creating a bridge between donors and impact investments and the NPOs dedicated to driving social change. This framework offers a host of advantages such as transparency, trust, efficiency, cost saving, discoverability, and impact. Measurement and outcome-based philanthropy. By aligning the dual goals of corporate success and societal impact, SSEs create a space where philanthropists, impact investors, donors, and NPOs converge, and each contributing to a shared vision of a more equitable and sustainable future. A special mention for SEBI that played a pivotal role in launching the Social Stock Exchange framework. SEBI has been proactive for SSE's success and has continued to make important changes such as bringing minimum issue size down from rupees 1 crore to 50 lakhs and minimum application size from rupees 2 lakhs to rupees 10,000, which will go a long way in making this platform more conducive for social enterprises to mobilize funds effectively. NSE is proud to welcome SGBS Unnati Foundation as the first ever NPO to get listed in the country on the Social Stock Exchange platform. Give Unnati a big hand. The first listing has witnessed a fund mobilization of 1.8 crore rupees. This will enable SGBS Trust to impart training to 10,000 graduating youths in their final years from government colleges located across various states such as Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. I am pleased to share that we already have 39 registered non-profit organizations, NPOs, and amongst this, several NPOs have already initiated their fundraising process across the developmental areas of education, skilling, agriculture, and poverty elevation of tribal farmers. We also would like to take the opportunity to highlight the outcome-based funding mechanism available under the Social Stock Exchange framework as defined by SEBI. I am pleased to inform you that one of the state governments, who is also present here, is pioneering the implementation of government service delivery through outcome-based funding mechanism and has set aside rupees 100 crore for the projects across health, social justice and tribal affairs. USAID has been appointed as a technical support agency and SBI Capital Markets has been appointed as the advisor for implementation of social impact bonds in this state. Looking back, in order to provide documentation and process assistance to the NPOs, both the exchanges and SEBI, along with legal advisors, registrars and merchant bankers, prepared a toolkit detailing the steps, content and timelines for fundraising. A sizable capacity building fund, which was housed in NABARD, also got instituted to enable NPOs and other stakeholders to navigate the SSEs and the processes, instruments, etc., apart from creating awareness. We hope that today's successful listing of SGBS Unnati Foundation will inspire many more social enterprises to look at this structured mechanism of fundraising through SSE. I congratulate the entire team of Unnati, Unitas, Trilegal, Big Share, Zaroda, NABARD, and others for their accomplishments. Today's listing is a testimony of their support and hard work. As we witness the presence of esteemed panelists, each one an expert in their respective fields, I'm confident that today's discussions after the listing ceremony will not only showcase the immense potential of SSEs, but also inspire a collective commitment to shaping a future where every rupee invested is a catalyst for positive, measurable change. Let us celebrate this moment as a testament to the power of collaboration, determination, and a shared vision for a better tomorrow. The journey has just begun. And with SSE, we have taken our first step towards a more compassionate, purpose-driven financial ecosystem. It is India's century. NSA has been a key catalyst in India's economic development for the 29 years. We look forward to SSEs being the key catalyst in India's social development in times to come. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for the initial remarks telling us about the idea behind the SSE segment, its aims, objectives, and its goals, along with putting the NSE's glorious journey right from its establishment to its current accomplishments, along with major milestones on the way in a nutshell for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now invite Shri Ashwani Bhatia, whole-time member, SEBI, for the keynote address on this highly significant occasion.
Honorable guests, distinguished delegates, friends and colleagues, it's my privilege to be here this morning for this historic occasion of the first listing of the Social Stock Exchange in India. This is a momentous day for our country as we witness the launch of listings on a new platform that will enable social enterprises and non-profit organizations to access capital and raise funds for a noble cause. Social Stock Exchange, or SSE, is a visionary initiative of the Government of India that was presented in the budget of 2019 to create an ecosystem that fosters social innovation, inclusion, and impact. SSE, as envisaged in India, does not have any parallel across any jurisdiction across the world and aims to provide a transparent and credible mechanism for investors to identify, evaluate, and support social ventures that are creating positive change in our society. SSEs also serve as a bridge between the mainstream capital markets and the social sector, bringing together the best of both worlds. However, in doing so, it will create new opportunities for social enterprises to showcase their work, scale up their operations, and enhance their accountability and governance. The first listing of SSE is a milestone for the social sector in India, as it marks the beginning of a new era of social finance. I therefore heartily congratulate Unnati Foundation and also commend the Social Stock Exchange teams of NSE and BSE, the intermediaries, the advisors, and all the stakeholders who have worked hard to make this dream come true. Going forward, I'm glad to inform that SEBI has recently approved more measures to increase the social enterprises that are eligible to raise funds on SSE. We have also reduced the minimum size from 1 crore to 50 lakhs to enable smaller fund raising. From the supply side, we have reduced the minimum application size to rupees 10,000, thereby permitting retail participation in SSEs. We think this process will become more democratic in the coming days. These amendments shall come into force and will be notified shortly and will provide an impetus to the social stock exchanges. I would like to encourage more social enterprises and non-profits to come forward and explore the benefits of social stock exchanges and join this movement of social transformation. Let us all join hands and make the social stock exchange a success story for India and to showcase to the world what we can do. Let us together enable the social stock exchange, a catalyst for social change and a force for good. I would also like to commend the work of Dr. Bala from the Prime Minister's special team who were he chaired the advisory council, advisory committees within SEBI to make this happen, and all the members who actually enabled us to put this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable insights with this August gathering today. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now play a video message by Shri S. Ramadurai, former Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of TCS, and also the Chairman of the NSE SSE Governing Council. I direct your attention to the screen to my right, your left.
Good morning, Good morning, everyone. It's indeed a proud moment for all of us at the NSE Social Stock Exchange to see the inauguration and listing of the first non-profit organization this morning. The SGB Unnati Foundation is the company or the NPO that is going to be listed today, and my compliments and the best wishes to them for this pioneering effort supported by the NSE SSE. Just to understand, the SGBS Unnati Foundation has already raised 1.8 crores and is going to be training 10,000 youth who will be employable through skills development. The satisfaction comes from action on the ground and making sure we create employment and or entrepreneurship through these mechanisms, and it's very transparent and the governance will be of the highest order. Already 39 potential companies are part of this journey and have filed documents to that effect and will soon translate into manifestation on the platform itself. The public issuance of ZC ZP will take shape, and I wish to compliment and wish the function the very best. Jai Hind, and may better things come in the future. Thank you everyone for being a part of this great initiative.
I will now request Dr. R. Balasubramaniam, Chairman of the Advisory Council of SEBI, to please address the audience.
Good morning, all dignitaries present here today. I think enough has been said about the historicity of this event. It's truly coming from the space of working at the grassroots with communities, operating under the distress of inconsistent, inadequate funding to ensure social change happens. It's a moment of real pride and honor for me to be participating here with the hope that this will change the social fabric of this country itself. I know all of us like to use the word non-profit. I personally dislike it because we can't define something as not being something. And so I would definitely like to say all of us are in this game for profits. And we need to understand and appreciate that profit doesn't mean in the fiscal sense alone. Society is going to immensely profit from the change that is going to begin. We are all here to create social surplus, and these boundaries, there was a time when I thought, being in the so-called, again, the non-profit world, we can bring about change on our own. And I think that's a myth that this is going to shatter. Boundaries are disappearing. COVID has shown us that cooperation, collaboration is going to be the norm for progress. And it's also extremely invigorating to see Ajit here with a dream of possibly bringing about massive social change through this apparatus. So I wish Ramesh, an old friend who's been in his own way pioneering various interventions, and it's really happy to see that he comes from the state I come from. And therefore, it's all the more important that Karnataka has taken the lead in this. And I compliment him for making the effort. Being a pioneer is not easy. We know sometimes, though it looks very nice, Ashwaniji was very considerate in saying that the committee has done a lot, but negotiating barriers and rediscovering our own strength by negotiating those barriers has been a great lesson for me. Every day has been I would say every day is a milestone for this. And we have a point to prove because every major country, whether it is the United States, Canada, Singapore, UK, have attempted this in various formats and failed. And like Ashish said, India's time has come, and in the social stock exchange, I hope that we'll be the real Jagat Guru that the Prime Minister keeps talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bala, among other things, for giving us food for thought, as in what exactly should profit mean and how exactly we should bring about change. Thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now request Sri Ramesh Swami, Founder Director, SGBS Unnati Foundation, for his address.
Good morning to everyone, and it's wonderful to see so many dignitaries over here. You know, it's a first time for us. When this happened and when we actually made it, let me start from that point. You know, I just compared it to the 1983 World Cup when India won it. You know, it was very similar. The feeling is very similar. We are a very small organization, and overnight, many underdogs in a way, we achieved something just because of the basic disciplines in place three verticals we always have been talking about: transparency, documentation, and social impact. I think these three things helped us to move forward and achieve this great milestone. It is definitely history in the making for all of us, and we are so proud that we could be part of that history journey. It's not been easy, like Balu sir said. It's been quite a journey. But let me, this is almost a Thanksgiving speech of mine, because this has been a team effort right from the start, when our own team, our own group of, let's say, the four directors, Narayan, Surya, all of us put our heads together and said that let's do this. At that time, we did not know that we could be the first, right? But when we started off, then came the support system. I have not come across exchanges in my life before, though Mr. Narayan and Surya and all have had. But the pleasure of working with three major institutions in this country in the past few months, the NSE, BSE and SEBI. NSE, the kind of interactions we have had with Rachanaji, Santoshji, Priyaji, Aboli, in the BSc with Hemanji, Rupalji, Mansi, it's been amazing. And Abhishek from SEBI, so many of them really held us and took us step by step, which is so important. The day we decided to do it, I remember there were two major things which happened, and it happens in seconds. We contacted Amit Rati sir, who is here with us today, and Harish from Unitas. It didn't take even 30 seconds for them to say that we are on board and it will be pro bono from our side. It's an amazing thing which happened in few seconds. The beauty is, when I said thank you for being so quick and all, he said if I take more than that, it means that I am thinking about it, and that's not the way philanthropy should work, right? Such a beautiful statement. The second person was Rahul Manthanji from Trilegal, and the entire team, 5 people who have been working. I've heard of people tell me that some of the CEOs have meetings at 2 o'clock night. That is the time they get, and they have a meeting at 2 o'clock night. I could tell my son and grandchildren later on that I have had meetings at 2:30 with Trilegal at night, right? It was that made possible. So it's been a phenomenal part of their support. Big share, Mr. Mohan, who had held her, because you must understand that for an NGO this is extremely, extremely difficult. We have not understood anything, It's not that you having certain things in order does not mean that everything is in place, right? And we had to do that. This is on this stage, I would love to say this also, that going forward we will create a kind of an home book and a repository on our website, which will help many NGOs for their future. This will happen in the next few weeks. The team of Unnati, they didn't understand what this listing is all about. My admin staff, my finance, so many of them who have worked tirelessly, have not understood the importance of it. I am sure when they see today's photographs, and the video, they are going to be amazed at what has happened. Because we probably, when Harish said from NSC, he said, we'll make it grand. I said, okay, great. And we was just waiting, we were waiting, what is grand? This is not grand, sir, this is spectacular for us. Thanks a lot for all the support you have really given us. I have to say one more thing about the kind of impact this has had on an NGO like Unnati. We have been in the skilling area for over 20 years, and probably one of the few NGOs in the country, or NPOs in the country, who have talked about impact who have talked about why we are doing what we are doing. We have never started off saying what, how. No. It has always been the why we are doing what we are doing. That is why the impact has been so high always throughout. People know us, people give us money. Those who know us have always stuck with us and for ages, right? Like people like Infosys, they have been supporting us. It's not a support, it's a blank check to us. You do the work and take the money. That is the kind of people who have been there. Ramesh Kachulya uncle here, sitting here. These are all people who have been supporting us right through. But in the last 2 months, the impact Unnati has created in terms of publicity, in terms of people knowing us, over 2 decades we have not had that kind of benefit. So that is the power of SSC. That is the power of SSC, and we are hoping that SSC becomes that big, in the sense that it is able to create not just value, it is measurable. The word is so important, impactful, create outcome for every rupee. And as an NGO, I must thank you all for one more thing, and I think this is true for every NGO who is registered in this platform. We have a very bad name in the market. NGO credibility, questions, how do you spend the money, what happens to the money. The next couple of years, I believe that this listing, this thing what is happening, SSC should give us one stamp of approval saying that nobody dare question these organizations on credibility, documentation and impact. If you are able to do this, I think a big portion of this country's, the importance of SSC is established. Money will come. Money is there in the market. You're talking of 39, 50, 60 NGOs, even at 10 crores, you're not talking of a big amount. Sir is sitting here talking of an impact bond of over 100 crores. So what is the big thing? The money is not the issue. We are talking of over 20,000 crores. If you take the temples and mosques and churches, you're talking of some 80,000 crores. So money is not an issue in this country. My only request would be that let's work to make this platform extremely, extremely powerful. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a great honor for all of us and our team. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts as well as experiences with us and with all those who are watching us online. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Amit Chandra, co-founder, H. Chandra Foundation and chairman of the Bain Capital.
Good morning, dignitaries present here and friends. I can't tell you how much it's been a pleasure working with Dr. Balu and the rest of the committee to put this incredible, platform together. All my life I've heard a very simple thing whenever we've tried to do something pioneering in this country, and that is a very simple word called no. I remember when the National Stock Exchange was being set up, everyone laughed at the concept. Indian stocks offerings used to be, traded on London Stock Exchange and and the NYSE and NASDAQ. And we were told that, that's the way to go. Indian stock exchanges are never going to be able to match up to international stock exchanges. Today, the National Stock Exchange, Ashish tells me, trades 20 times the volume of the NYSE. We have almost 8 crore folios in India, which dwarfs any other stock exchange or market in the world by a mile. And why is that important? Because for long, not-for-profit organizations, and like Dr. Balu, I hate the term. I think it should be social profit organizations, have depended on two sources of capital. Foreign capital, and I don't know why foreigners should necessarily take care of our problems and we are capable of taking care of them ourselves, and capital from big families. I believe that ordinary Indians are capable of solving problems of their brothers and sisters, and therefore the social stock exchange, an idea to which everybody said no. Every social stock exchange in the world has failed before this, but this one, 5, 10, 15 years from now, will be the one that will succeed, will thrive. There will be hundreds, possibly thousands of listings at each of those milestones, and it will democratize the raising of capital for Indian social profit organizations. I wish everyone associated with the first listing and with the pipeline of organizations that's going to follow in rapid succession the very best. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, listings are milestones, and milestones are ways of looking at the past with gratitude, present with appreciation, and future with lots and lots of hope. Having said that, let me invite Shri Ashwani Bhatia, whole-time member SEBI, Shri Ajit Kesri, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Madhya Pradesh, Dr. R. Balasubramaniam, member HR Capacity Building Commission, Government of India, Shri Ashish Kumar Chauhan, MD and CEO, NSE, Shri Raymond V. D'Souza, Chief General Manager, NABARD, Shri Viraj Joshi, AVP Regulatory and Policy, Zerodha, Shri Ramesh Swami, Founder Director, SGBS Unnati Foundation, and Shri Ram Krishna, Chief Business Development Officer, NSE, to kindly step upon the stage and gather near the bell, as at exactly 11 o'clock we will be ringing the bell, which will mark the official listing of the first NPO on the SSC, that is the SGBS Unnati Foundation. Please, gentlemen. The relentless hard work and untiring efforts have finally come to fruition. देवी और सज्जनों, जिस पल की हम प्रतीक्षा कर रहे थे, वो करीब आ रहा है. I will also request Shri Amit Chandra to please join in. We all will put our hands together as the customary countdown will begin. Srimati Vidya Shah, could I request you, ma'am, to kindly join us on stage? Srimati Vidya Shah. So as I was saying, join me in cheering as we will be 10 seconds away from 11 o'clock. जब 11 को 10 सेकंड बाकी होंगे, आप सभी मेरे साथ काउंटडाउन की गिनती में शामिल हो जाइएगा. Yes, it is showing, the clock is reading 45 seconds to 11. So we are almost there. We can read the clock at the top of the bell. Less than half a minute away, ladies and gentlemen. Please be in readiness for the countdown and cheer with me. Yes, we are almost there. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hearty heartiest congratulations. To the management, stakeholders, well-wishers of SGBS Unnati Foundation, and many congratulations on the first listing ceremony of an NPO on the social service segment. I'm sorry. Yes, moments to be treasured in the form of photographs. यादगार पल हम सभी के लिए कैद हो रहे हैं फोटोग्राफ्स के रूप में. Thank you for that spontaneous round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, please, you may please take your seats. I will request Shri Ashish Kumar Chauhan sir to please stay back for the memento. And we will now present a memento. Could I request Shri Ashwini Bhatia ji, whole-time member of SEBI, to please stay back on stage and receive a memento from Shri Ashish sir, a token of appreciation and gratitude. Please accept this. A lovely Indian motif in the form of an elephant miniature. Thank you, Bhatia ji. I will request Ashish sir to please present a memento as a congratulatory gesture to Shri Ramesh Swami, founder director of SGBS Unnati Foundation. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, this is a mini replica of the bell that has been placed on the stage. Let us have a resounding of claps, ladies and gentlemen. We will also present a listing certificate. Go ahead, go ahead. Go from here. Go from here and just go. This is the listing certificate and the proud to be listed on NSE badge box. So officials and employees of Unnati who are present here have been listed these badges, but these are for those who could not attend the listing ceremony in person. And mementos for all those who have contributed towards the successful listing. Shri Amit Kumar Rathi from Unitas, banker to the issue. Richa Chaudhary and team from Tri-Legal, the legal advisors to the issue. Richa Chaudhary and team from Tri-Legal. Shri V.K. Mohan and team, Big Share, Registrar to the issue. Raymond D'Souza. Next, Shri Raymond B. D'Souza, Chief General Manager, NABARD, as Capacity Building Fund. Viraj Joshi. Next is Shri Viraj Joshi, AVP Regulatory and Policy, Zerodha, as donor to the issue. Next, I will call out Shri Ramesh Kacholia, donor to the issue. I will call out the next name, Shri Govind Iyer, Chairperson, Social Venture Partners India, Board Director, Infosys, donor to the issue. Thank you. Govind Iyer. All right. Thank you, sir. You may please take your seat in the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move to the fireside chat to be followed by a panel discussion in some time. In the meanwhile, you may utilize this time for networking in this atrium itself. Just give us a couple of minutes for a quick changeover. Thank you.
Tried to do something pioneering in this country, and that is a very simple word called no. I remember
Member HR Capacity Building Commission, Government of India, Shri Ashish Kumar Chauhan, MD and CEO, NSE, Shri Raymond V. काउंटडाउन की गिनती में शामिल हो जाइएगा. Yes, it is showing the clock is reading 45 seconds to 11. So we are almost there. We can read the clock at the top of the bell. Less than half a minute away, ladies and gentlemen. Please be in readiness for the countdown and cheer with me. Yes, we are almost there. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Heartiest congratulations. To the management, stakeholders, well-wishers of SGBS Unnati Foundation, and many congratulations on the first listing ceremony of an NPO on the social service segment. I'm sorry. Yes, moments to be treasured in the form of photographs. यादगार पल हम सभी के लिए कैद हो रहे हैं फोटोग्राफ्स के रूप में. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin the second half of the event. We have with us Shri Ajit Kesri, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Madhya Pradesh. It is indeed our great fortune and privilege to have him with us. And before inviting him for the keynote address, I will briefly introduce him. Shri Ajit Kesri, an IS officer of the 1990 batch, presently posted as the Additional Chief Secretary to the Government of Madhya Pradesh. He's in charge of the Department of Finance, was educated as a mechanical engineer from IIT Kanpur, bachelor's, and IIT Delhi master's. He obtained a degree of Masters of Public Policy from the School of Public Policy, George Mason University, USA in 2008. He has handled various assignments at the district level for 13 years across many parts of Madhya Pradesh. Outside the government, he runs a group involved in teaching people on avoiding kidney-related diseases. With those words, I will request Shri Ajit Kesri, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Madhya Pradesh, for the keynote address. Sir, please.
Good morning to the dignitaries present here. First of all, I would like to thank NSE for inviting me over here to be a part of India's unique celebration of the first listing on the social stock exchange. Government of Madhya Pradesh has always been, now that I have worked nearly 33 years for them, has always been kind of working with innovators and especially those working in the social sector. We have various examples. And one of the pioneer works that we would like to talk about in the service delivery is bringing in a Public Service Delivery Guarantee Act, which in a way guarantees, before the word guarantee became very popular recently. We did this a long time ago by guaranteeing things and ensuring that people be punished if the guarantee is not delivered within a particular time limit. And I think we have been innovators in these kind of public services delivery, where many other states later on copied our model. So just to try to give you another example, we actually do a lot of thinking before we launch our schemes, so that others then come ahead, other states come ahead and copy us. So this again is an opportunity for us to do the similar thing over here. Once the announcement of a outcome-based funding and a social stock exchange was announced in the year 2019, the government of Madhya Pradesh was eagerly looking forward to it. And the moment SEBI came up with their guidelines in the year 2022, in the next budget, which we presented in the March of 23, we kept aside a provision of 100 crores for the social impact bonds. Or we didn't have a better name at that time. We didn't realize what exactly we were going to call it. So we just kept aside a money of 100 crores and said that, yes, we'll go ahead. We were fortunate that NSE actually started writing to the state governments that they had set up an SSE at the same time in the month of April. And since then, we have been working together. We have been helped in our journey by various organizations working on a pro bono basis. USAID came forward, other institutions came forward, SBI CAPS came forward, NABARD's organization came forward. So all these people helped together through NSE, of course. And then we were quite pleased to see that now there are 39 NPOs listed only on NSE. Unfortunately, we have not been in touch with the BSE, so we don't know the figures there. But yes, we primarily went ahead this. And so let me again tell you how we moved ahead in this journey and why it's important. Because that is what is going to be a learning for different people. People in the non-profit organization sector, people in the stock exchanges, people in the regulatory framework, people in the capital markets and in the legal section who are going to do the documentation. I think enough has been said about how the social stock exchanges bring in transparency, compliances, and I think the SEBI's issue of compliances and giving a fair market and a fair level playing field to everybody with a lot of information has actually helped change our stock exchanges. And a company that is listed is always kind of looking into different issues of compliances. I think that's the biggest learning that the government and the advantage that the government is going to get from an NPO which is listed on the social stock exchange. That's going to bring in a lot of things. What basically, we were also fortunate when we started looking into this, that there was a small pilot in Madhya Pradesh on outcome-based funding that was around 1.5 to 2 years ago, that was funded as an outcome funder by USAID. That was in the TB sector, but it was a small project. What the government decided and what the government can provide is a large-scale enhancement of these projects. So that project was for 1,000 beneficiaries. We are now going to look into projects which are for 10,000, 50,000, a lakh of beneficiaries. So these are the kind of upscaling opportunities to a non-profit organization that governments offer. I think I would like to talk for a few moments about the issues and the challenges that come to us, because that is how people in other sectors, especially those who want to work, will be able to learn. As happens routinely in government, there were a lot of naysayers who said, "Ki, what is this? We already are doing outsourcing. We are already giving contracts to non-profit organizations. What is different over here?" So as I was introduced, I went through a public policy course. And the first thing that I learned is that public policy options always need to be compared, and one will have to demonstrate the benefits of what we are proposing. I think that helped us through. We worked a lot with people, went to the highest authorities in the state. A lot of discussion was there. Again, the same questions were asked over there. What is different? And I think Mr. Ahuja and everybody else was there. Many people present here were there in that meeting. We were told after some persuasion, some discussion that yes, seems like a good idea, but show me the paperwork, show me the documentation. How the contracts are going to be executed, how do you define outcomes, how those outcomes will be measured. So I think the first suggestion that as a government that I would like to give to people is that we need to define the outcomes in very simple terms. I'll come to the projects and tell you what the outcomes is. There's one project on tuberculosis. It's a very simple outcome. 6 months of treatment, nutritional support, 6 months of follow-up, no TB present by medical test, and there has to be a specific weight gain of 6 to 8 kgs in 6 months. Only 2 outcomes on which the performance of the non-profit organization or the implementing agency will be monitored. No cluttering, no paragraphs written on it, simple statement. So every of these projects have a very simple either 1-line statement or at the maximum 2 or a 3-line statement measuring the outcome. Nothing more than that and nothing less than that. You achieve the outcome, we are willing to pay. The outcome has to be very clear, it has to be defined very clearly, it should be measurable. Because ultimately what the governments would also be looking at is measurable things. They would also like to tell their clients, the people of the state, that this specific is what I have achieved for you. And people are looking for something very specific. I think that was the biggest learning, and the outcome-based funding mechanism linked with the social stock exchange. So what we do is primarily insist that anybody who's coming for an outcome-based funding should be listed on the social stock exchange, and he should be willing to follow all the compliances and the transparent procedures defined by a social stock exchange. He should also be kind of willing to raise money if he needs funds in the interim phase through a social stock exchange. There will be a premium. We understand in the government that suppose if he has to raise funds, it will always not be philanthropy. It will always not be a ZCZP. It might be a ZCZP, fine. Then we are also becoming redundant as an outcome-based funding, because if there is somebody philanthropic who is willing to fund, that's absolutely great. But we would definitely like to join hands with these kind of people. The government is also willing to work with people who are willing to work for philanthropy, whether they are foundations, where they are whoever is allowed to raise money over here. So, but the basic issue is a transparent and a compliance-based system that will be demonstrating to the clients of the government. See, ultimately, government is responsible to its citizens. What do we tell our citizens? That yes, we have utilized your money and given you these services. It solves a very basic problem for the government. The government has been saying to its own residents, to its own citizens, that we are giving you so many things, we are giving you so many services. But in many of these cases, we are unable to define what is the exact outcome that has been delivered to the citizens. We talk about running schools, we can't give numbers how many students have been able to educate. When we talk about skill training, we don't have the exact numbers, we don't have the exact things that we can talk about. In these projects, we have very specific outcomes that we can talk about. What we have done is that we have worked with SBI CAPS, we have worked with USAID. We have now arrived at a situation where we have identified 6 such projects, primarily in the health sector and in the livelihood sector, where basically we would be looking at specific outcomes. And it's not that we only want to work in these 6 areas, therefore we only selected that. It was easier for us to work. See, because in a pioneering project, it is also very relevant to make it successful. And we can only make things successful if there are people who are willing to execute things on this model. And I would definitely congratulate Unnati on taking this first step. See, because there might be many NPOs. There are 39 NPOs registered in the NSE itself. Other 38 haven't come forward. They might be in the process. But the first step, as we understood, was asking people simply to register. And then the second step is moving ahead. So perhaps what we would be offering to others is that if you have a project which you would be willing to do on an outcome-based funding, the finance department in Madhya Pradesh is only playing the role of a facilitator, because ultimately it's the concerned department which has to be an owner of these projects. I believe most people who would be working in Madhya Pradesh would be aware of the departments and whom they have to contact. It's just a one step forward where you are trying to sensitize people that this is a better way of executing projects as compared to what you might have thought of otherwise. So I think that's the only thing. The areas that we have selected is, one is removing tuberculosis. We have a large number of tuberculosis cases. And incidentally, if you ever try to travel abroad and get tested for anything, 99% of Indian comes up with a tuberculosis. And the moment you go to any hospital there, any nurse who would be seeing you, you either way don't meet a doctor, so you'll only be meeting a nurse. So the moment they see your report, they start shouting कि ये आदमी तो infectious है, इसको वापस भेजो India. So that is, TB is that dangerous for Indians, let me tell you. So we have one on project. The second thing, of course, is one thing that we are trying to do is try to improve our self-help group members and convert them into Lakhpatis. So we have kept a very simple target, and that 1,40,000 is the per capita income in Madhya Pradesh. Let every self-help group member, the lady of the house, have an annual income of more than that. And so that's the second project that we are trying to take up. We have a project on cochlear implant, because we were having cochlear implants, we are still funding cochlear implant. but we don't fund the follow-up. So basically it's combining a lot of groundwork along with this. Minimum invasive gynecological surgeries. These are projects that our departments have come up with. There are improving tribal hostels in Madhya Pradesh. So we are even willing to move into that kind of a thing with the non-profit organizations. And then maternal nutrition, improving maternal nutrition, because that will ultimately reduce the maternal death cases in Madhya Pradesh. So these are 6 projects that some of them were initially brought in by NPO, some of them were thought of by the department. So it has been a collaborative journey. But I would like to congratulate both SEBI and NSE and people who have actually built this, like Professor Balu. We were working on other projects before in his basic role as the capacity building, and I think people do need to come up with collaborative ideas. People do need to come up with ideas. The only thing that we can say is that the government of Madhya Pradesh is willing to experiment with these things and set up a ideal condition or a mechanism which could be copy-pasted into other things. And I think a lot of effort will be needed for doing this. It's not an easy job. Being pioneers, we had to receive a lot of brickbats also. But ultimately we realize after having worked in the government that these things are going to lead to a lot of satisfaction from our job and also a lot of bouquets when the thing succeeds. So once the thing succeeds, it will be success and then others will copy it. So let's try to move collaboratively. Ideas are most welcome, and I think NSE and people are aware of, and people in the social sector. So my only objective of coming here was that I have nothing to do with Unnati's listing, but yes, because we are trying to move forward and there is an audience which will be looking forward to these kind of projects. That was the objective in which they have invited me. So thank you for the invitation, and our congratulations to Unnati again and to the people involved in this whole process on making this a thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the invigorating words. Could I request Sri Ramakrishna, Chief Business Development Officer, NSE, to please present a memento to Sri Ajit Kesri, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Madhya Pradesh. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a quick few words introducing Dr. R. Balasubramaniam, Chairman of the Advisory Committee of SEBI. Having embarked on his journey in the development sector by living and working for several years among remote forest-based tribal communities in the southern shore Indian district of Mysuru, Dr. R. Balasubramaniam, popularly known as Dr. Balu, is a widely respected development activist, leadership trainer, thinker, and writer. He is the member HR in the Capacity Building Commission of the Government of India. He is also a visiting professor at Cornell University, USA, and at IIT, Delhi. He teaches courses on leadership and human development, is the chairman of the Social Stock Exchange Advisory Committee set up by SEBI. After his MBBS, he earned his MPhil in Hospital Administration and Health Systems Management from BITS Pilani. He has a master's in Public Administration from the Harvard Kennedy School, Harvard University. His living habits were greatly influenced by the teachings of Swami Vivekananda, and at the age of 19, he founded the Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement based on the principles of Ahimsa, Satya, Seva, and Tyaga. He has spent more than 3 decades of his life in the service of the rural and tribal poor in the forests of India. He is also the founder of Grassroots Research and Advocacy Movement, a public policy think tank in India. Dr. Balu embodies a rare blend of grassroots and macro perspectives and policy through his multifaceted experience of more than 3 decades. He is a Tata Scholar, a Mason Fellow of the Harvard Kennedy School, and a Fellow of the Hauser Center for Civil Society, Harvard University. He was the head and visiting professor of the Vivekananda Chair, University of Mysore, twice. It gives me great pleasure and pride in inviting Dr. R. Balasubramaniam, Chairman of the Advisory Committee of SEBI. Sir, please. And this fireside chat will be moderated by Sri Ramakrishna, Chief Business Development Officer, NSE. Welcome, sir. So I hand over charge of this segment to Sri Ramakrishnan ji. Over to you, sir.
So I'm going to be greeted by Sri Ram.
So it's both an honor and a privilege to welcome Dr. Balu, a distinguished luminary in the field of social impact and member HR of the Capacity Building Commission, Government of India, to our fireside chat. Dr. Balu embodies a wealth of experience and insight, having dedicated his illustrious career to fostering positive change and empowering communities. The social stock exchange in India has emerged as a transformative force, pioneering a paradigm shift in the intersection of finance and social impact. Since its inception, the SSE has been on a journey of evolution driven by a commitment to bridge the gap between financial markets and philanthropic endeavors. Today we have the unique opportunity to delve into Dr. Balu's perspectives on crucial topics around the social stock exchange, capacity building, role of the government, and the immense potential for collaboration in this space. So without further ado, let me begin. Sir, you've been an integral part of the advisory committee for the social stock exchange framework and leading from the front for a while now. Obviously, we are aware of challenges that the concept of social stock exchange has faced in other countries. What inspired you to design and bring this concept in India? What inspired you to design this concept and bring this to the market in India?
I think my mic is working.
Yeah.
You're all able to hear me? Okay.
It's working.
I think my last decade's research has been, the topic has been, why do social stock exchanges fail? And looking at 14 other countries, and Jamaica being the latest. It all started in 2003 in Brazil, and Brazil's also failed. London Stock Exchange failed. So looking at all that, looking at a very mature ecosystem like Thailand, not wanting to go for the social stock exchange, and trying to understand, I spent a lot of time there, trying to understand when are they going to do it. And when India announced it in 2019, I was one of those critics of it actually. So I met the FM and told that maybe time has not come for India, our ecosystem is not mature, we need to do a lot more work. And looking at the enthusiasm she brought in the argument and saying that, well, the only way it can mature is people like you jump into it and do something about it. And that started me to look at why they failed and see how can we make sure that we don't repeat it. The second reason why I thought I should get into it is, most of us NGOs are very good in complaining. We identify problems, but we don't want to take responsibility for solving it. We expect somebody else or the government to solve it. I think here is an opportunity to undo that kind of an image that we have. And the third most important reason is, as I got deeper into it, and when I saw most exchanges failed because there were initiatives either of the private sector or of the exchanges themselves or of not-for-profits like B Corps, etc. India was the first country in the world where the government actually initiated it, and that gave me hope. And when government looks at an alternate pipeline for funding social sector, it shows commitment and conviction of the system in wanting to bring about meaningful change. So then I thought, if the government is so sincere and committed, maybe there is hope. But the real reason I will tell you is, I think in all of us, and I have a lot of friends from the non-profit sector, I think we suffer from 7 problems. And I saw this is one instrument where we can solve all those 7. So I'm going to list them out. I call them the 7 C's. The first thing is, we suffer from the challenge of cause, the cause challenge. We are so tied to the lapels of the donor that today if Ajit says work in tuberculosis, I work in tuberculosis. Tomorrow he says government has decided to look at HIV AIDS, and so I shift to HIV AIDS. So we suddenly shift our causes based on the donors. So I think that's a real challenge. The other challenge is the credibility challenge. Right? Ramesh also spoke about it and said about, we are always seen as people who don't deliver. I think it's a mistaken notion. I don't agree that we have a problem, but I think credibility needs to be reset. And like before joining government, I was a critic of government too. And we always used to consider government mediocre and inefficient. I'm thankfully convinced that my perception was completely wrong. And like that, people also have perceptions of NGOs. The third is the compensation challenge. We always, just because we are NGOs, we are expected to pay below market. Everybody thinks you're an NGO. I can remember many years ago, a parliament subcommittee was visiting, and when they heard that we are paying the teachers market salary, they said, why are they here? They should not be paid so much. I was shocked. Like, we expect mediocre, we expect high quality work from NGOs, but we want to pay mediocre salaries. How is it fair? So I think if you want to solve the compensation challenge, we have to deal with markets in markets language. Then we also have the challenge of competition. If Ramesh is able to raise 1.8 crores, we believe that he is going to take away 1.8 crores mine for me, which is completely untrue, like he himself pointed out. There's so much of the pie there. Can we grow the pie and all of us have a slice of it? The exchange provides us opportunities for that. So we always try to see each other as competitors. The last challenge, I think, is the collaboration challenge. We are all holier than thou in this sector, and we think that we are the ones who can solve the world's problems. And we are generally hesitant to collaborate with other NGOs, first of all, so this is going to force us. Small NGOs are going to be, by design of a regulator like SEBI. Now, if let's be fair, if NSE and BSE had thousands of MSMEs listed, then we know that the environment is very friendly. If an MSME is not willing to get listed, how is an NGO going to get listed, right? The challenges are going to be huge. But I see an enormous potential here, that we'll have to collaborate. Small NGOs will be mothered or nurtured by a large NGO, and they can get listed and offer, like Unnati can offer skill training for 10,000 people, and maybe they'll work with small NGOs to support them to actually deliver to their standards. So we'll now learn to collaborate, we'll learn to work with each other. So I think the social stock exchange gives us that consistent support to deliver on social outcomes long enough for us. People thought CSR will solve our problems. And I think it's not completely true, because CSR has bred a generation of consultants, the big fours and all that, to tell us how to bring about social change without understanding ground realities. Corporates are now, they measure their performance on a quarter-to-quarter basis, and they think social development also can be measured on a quarter-to-quarter basis. I was very happy when Ajit ji said that very simple indicators, just 2, 6 to 8 kg weight gain, tuberculosis free after 6 months or 1 year of treatment. It was simple. But you talk to a corporate, he will say every 3 months this has to change. No, it doesn't happen that way. Development is generational. Now the social stock exchange offers us opportunity to publicly disclose what do I mean as social change, how do you measure it, and how much money I'm going to spend, how transparent can I be. And the last point is, it democratizes participation. I agree what Amit said in the morning, that Indians are not poor. We've got enough money today to take care of our development. It is just that we need to provide them credible ways to provide that money to that space. I think the social stock exchange offers it. So I think I've listed enough reasons why all of us have to work together to make it a success story.
In what ways do you think the social stock exchange can align with governmental initiatives to enhance capacity of not-for-profit organizations and help them raise funding in the social sector?
I think, again, I would like to correct you here. Why are we thinking only not-for-profits needs capacity building? SEBI had no capacity to understand social sector at all. It's a market regulator. NSE has no capacity to understand us. Everybody needs capacity building. Let's be open about it, right? You need to be trained how to understand social sector, how to work with us.
Right.
I need to be trained how to work with market regulators. I need to be trained how to operate with NSE and meet your standards, meet SEBI standards. So I think capacity building fund is conceived not for not-profits alone. Let's be open about it. The supply side needs to be trained, how the investors should operate now. The demand side has to be trained, the intermediaries and regulators have to be trained. All of us need capacities.
Sure.
Government is the single largest catalyst and promoter of human development in anywhere in the world, any country, India including. Like the amount of investments we're making on social sector is huge today. Now, I think at the advisory committee and at SEBI that we have decided is to simply go with what government determines as the need of the hour. So the CSR listing in the Corporate Companies Act of the 17 activities, the Niti Ayog's definition of what is true need of the country in terms of aspirational blocks program, the areas of focus that we need to do, whether it's environment, culture or social. So we have taken all the government's development priorities, so we align with that. It's easy. And we also align with credibility. The definition of credibility has to begin somewhere. We are going with the income tax definition of what they do due diligence for credibility, because we can't have the wherewithal to measure. So we are going with ATG and 12-year registration as enough for us to, and no major assessment cases against the organization. And again, we should not get carried away by social stock exchange being limited to non-profits. And India doesn't have a definition of social enterprise. Right? The world has got 75 different ways of defining social enterprise. My own research, it must have expanded now. We need, at some point of time, there are some 20 different ways in which we can register an organization in the non-profit sector. We need some uniformity of definition. All that is work to do for the government. But my view is, working in alignment with what development priorities of the state gives us a goalpost to start our jobs. And then looking at what don't we have, what capacities we don't have. We would train NGOs on how to get registered and listed. We would train SEBI and regulators how to understand social sector, how to read the reports. We would train maybe intermediaries in something else. So capacity based on what you lack, what the deficits are for the sector, for the domains, and then rolling it out. Capacity building fund is also to mature the ecosystem. We know that fundraising is expensive. Now Ramesh was lucky. Being a pioneer, the novelty, everybody wanted to give him pro bono support. But I can tell you 1 month from now, the PWCs and BCGs of the world will give us a big cost, which means the cost of fundraising is going to go up tremendously. And we need somebody to control it, right?
Yeah, that's already one challenge that you have highlighted. But what are some of the other challenges that come to your mind in the success journey of the social stock exchange?
I think a lot of policy changes have to come in, like definition of social enterprise, making it statutory in a definition space. The income tax department actually considering investments in this space, defining it as a donation, not because of ATG alone. Like Ramesh being a pioneer, soon is going to have the challenges faced, because how is he going to treat the investments? Is it income? Is it donation? Because if he has more than 25% of his total revenues from other sources, income tax will file a case against him. The one side of government will talk something else, right? So we need to clarify all this. So CBDT has to get into the act. We need to include this as an investment, as a CSR thing, because we have kept the private foundations out for good reasons. So a lot of things has to change. Reducing barriers, ensuring accountability and transparency, at the same time not making it so difficult to prove that you're good, that you don't want to get into the space. Every organization I speak to asks me, how is it different from a donation? At least I can more easily get the same amount of money donated. Like I'm sure if you honestly talk to Ramesh, the effort he put in, he would have possibly got twice this money without coming into the exchange. Because it's a well-known organization, they're very credible, so it's easy. So all of us go through that. So I think reducing barriers, democratizing. My dream is if a rural farmer in Karnataka invest 1,000 rupees on a tribal development effort in Meghalaya, then we have done our jobs.
So that's what we keep talking about in NSE. We have manufactured trust over the years, so much so that investors from various corners of the country have the confidence to invest in companies which they probably will not even visit in their lifetime.
If you can do it for mutual funds, you can do it for social stock exchange.
Exactly. No, that's well answered, sir. The other question I had was, how do you perceive these new age funding models like risk funding, outcome-based funding, etc.? Ajit, you also spoke about it. I think there's a lot of action on that space that we see as an exchange as well.
You know, I'm smiling because when I started my organization, I was a 19-year-old. I didn't even know I am called a NGO. And we NGOs can make a dictionary of terms. We have so many fashion statements that keep coming in every 3 years, and mostly driven by the Western models. The World Bank will tell us something, OECD will come and tell us a logic model, somebody will come and tell us theory of change. The bottom line is, are we doing good demonstrably, measurably and visibly to bring about, make lives better? That has not changed. So luckily for me, I think we are learning the jargon. Now we learn new jargons, registrar, legal advisors. We are learning all that. And we are good. We have survived this long, so we will survive.
What is your advice for the not-for-profit leaders who are aiming to raise funds through the social stock exchange platform for implementing their various projects for making India self-sustainable and also a developed nation? Are there some strategies or best practices that you would recommend for seeking funding or maybe outcome-based funding?
What I didn't mention when I said credibility challenge is some of it is also real. Our governance structures are not very transparent. Sons inherit NGOs, daughters inherit NGOs, they give dowries. As I know, that's our sector, right? We need to really understand, when you can demand corporate governance, we need to demand governance. Our management models are weak. They are not measurable. Our transparency and disclosure statements are not very clear. The operational cost as a ratio to the good that we do is not really declared anywhere. To me, despite, at least as a person in this space for 40 years now, the Vivekananda Youth Movement, which I founded, has to comply with 28 different legislations. My hospital has to do something else. My electrical inspectorate will come for the X-ray machine. BARC will send somebody to investigate whether the X-ray is leaking. We have to get certifications for so many things. And in India, we know how certifications operate. But more importantly, despite all these regulations, our sector is also loosely regulated. It's very funny, it's a dichotomy. We are over-regulated but unregulated also. Market is the best regulator. Now, if Unnati fails to deliver, they are going to be exposed. And which means he cannot raise capital again in the public space. He's going to get, as much as being listed, registered and listed in NSE and BSE is going to be a credibility feather in the cap, it is also a dangerous double-edged sword. You fail, you are also publicly exposed. And then finding funds is going to be difficult. So I think market is the best regulator. And getting NGOs to put their act together, clean up their governance structures, put their management structures in place, put their transactional costs transparently disclosed, tell how good is going to be measured, what good are they going to produce, get it independently evaluated. All that the social stock exchanges can do for us. And which means I am seeing a space where whether SSC succeeds completely or not in the next 5 to 10 years, our sector will become that much better. It will become more vibrant, more transparent, and the bad ones will get eliminated by default. The good ones will possibly thrive, and that's the hope I have.
That brings me to the next question. What does success look like for you as far as the social stock exchange is concerned? Let's say we meet after 1 year or after 2 years. What do you think would have happened? How do you think this space would have evolved by then? And how would we all look at this concept and how it has done in the, let's say, next 1-2 years?
I'm going to put you in a spot, Sriram. The best way to answer this question is ask you another question. How many listings of MSMEs you have? What's the capital they have raised?
So we have got about 400 companies on the NSE Emerge platform, which is our SME
After
platform.
how many years?
So it's about 4 or 5 years or so. But the total money that they've raised is about 7,000-8,000 crores. The market capitalization of these 400 companies has crossed 100,000 crores, 1 lakh crores.
So let me give you some NGO numbers. 80% of the large donors, they're handful, maybe less than 100, together have a budget of more than 200 crores. Okay, very small number. And they're all less than 10 years old, which means they're the new age NGOs. I'm a little worried. I'm also happy. Those who have cracked the technology conundrum or benefited by that, those who are articulate in what they do, those are willing to be measured, those are willing, and corporates also invaded the NGO sector. Now it's a fashion statement. I have shifted jobs. I'm going to the social sector. You can see on LinkedIn and all that. My way of success would be if in the next 1 month or by January, hopefully before budget session of Parliament, we have 5 more listings. I'm very, very conservative. We have 100 listings in 2 years. The total money that is coming into the NGO sector is stagnating for the last 10 years. Despite high net worth individuals going up in this country, money is not going up to the social sector. Nobody is understanding this. Governments are investing in social sector, but private sector and HNIs are not. We have enough numbers to show that. So I am hoping that retail investments flourish for this kind of work. 5 years from now, we have 100 NGOs are operating, whatever you call it, the capital raise around 20,000 crores then. And NSEs actually live and survive, and BSE survives in the social stock exchange. If that happens, I think it will be an outrageous success. Now, the least common, what you call the definition of success would be if after 5 years you still have an SSE here and in BSE. Because the real proof of the pudding is going to be in whether you find continued interest the way you showed interest today. If every listing you celebrate 5 years later with the same amount of interest, that means the sector is vibrant, that you are invested in making sure it works. I would call that a success.
Thank you, sir. No, that's very helpful. And finally, what's your message to all the key stakeholders here, like the NPOs, donors, regulators, the exchange, colleagues, all of us? What's your special message today?
I think it's time we stop seeing ourselves as separate. We are all partners in progress. For administrative reasons, I call myself an investor, somebody else calls himself an implementer, social assessor. I think we are all in this game together, and if we don't work together, we can't make it a success. We shouldn't separate ourselves artificially anymore when it comes to social development. We are all in this game together, and we have to make it a success. So failure is not an option, not for our country anymore.
Thank you so much, Dr. Balu. Yeah. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your candid thoughts.
Thanks, you.
Please stay back with us for a few more moments. That, ladies and gentlemen, was indeed an engaging segment. Thank you, Dr. Balasubramaniam, for the enlightening learnings and takeaways. And thank you, Sri Krishnan sir, for the splendid moderation. Memento. Thank you, gentlemen. Please join us in the audience as we begin our panel discussion on outcome-based philanthropy, channelizing via social stock exchange. Ladies and gentlemen, this segment will explore how outcome-focused giving, when facilitated through the innovative platform of social stock exchange, the SSE, can revolutionize the philanthropic landscape. This will be moderated by Sri Amit Bhatia, founder of Aspire Impact Ratings, and the expert panelists are Sri Arnab Chaudhary, Executive Vice President and Group Head, SBI CAPS, Sri Raymond D'Souza, Chief General Manager, NABARD, Sri Viraj Joshi, AVP Regulatory and Policy, Zerodha, Sri Mayappan Nagappan, Partner Tax, Environmental, Social and Governance, ESG, Trilegal, and Sri Ramesh Swami, Founder Director, SGBS Unnati Foundation. So yes, we are almost set. The stage is ready. Gentlemen, would you like to use the collar mics? The panelists? Please. So let me quickly introduce the session moderator, followed by the panelists. Shri Amit Bhatia, founder of Aspire Impact Ratings and award-winning social entrepreneur, founder of Aspire Impact, world's first standard-based impact rating initiative for corporations, financial institutions, and non-profits, a digital platform for ESG, sustainability, and impact. He is also founder of a leading non-profit, Aspire Circle, home to India's preeminent fellowship for social leaders, 275+ fellows, and the Impact Future Project, a thought leadership initiative, 250+ leaders. Our first expert on the panel, Shri Arnab Chaudhary, Executive Vice President and Group Head, SBI CAPS. He is the Executive VP and Group Head, Debt Capital Market at SBI Capital Markets Limited. Having started his professional career as probationary officer in State Bank of India, he worked through the ranks and joined the Global Markets Division of the bank, where he was part of Forex trading desk and also played an important role in setting up the derivatives desk of the largest nationalized bank after a brief stint with Reliance Treasury. He joined Standard Chartered Bank in Bahrain in financial markets team thereafter. Shri Raymond D'Souza, Chief General Manager, NABARD. He has 3.5 decades of service at NABARD. Having worked across the country, he has wide experience in agriculture and rural development. Shri Virat Joshi, AVP Regulatory and Policy, Zerodha. He is an AVP of the Regulatory and Policy at Zerodha, helps manage all strategic initiatives across Zerodha's business, has been at the helm of Zerodha's efforts to popularize and raise awareness about the social stock exchange. He has a background in law, working in corporate law and financial policy before joining Zerodha team. In the past, he's worked with a research institute under the aegis of Ministry of Finance, Government of India. He's also worked with the state governments of Punjab and Odisha on reforming their property tax frameworks. He also volunteers at Rain Matter Foundation, which is a giving back initiative backed by the Zerodha founders aimed at climate change mitigation. A penultimate expert on the panel, Shri Mayappan Nagappan, partner, tax, environmental, social and governance, ESG, Trilegal. He is partner at Trilegal, specializes in a mix of transactional, advisory, policy and litigation work on the tax side, has extensively advised and acted as lead transaction counsel for the biggest non-profit charities on complex impact bonds launched in India and structured technical assistance grants for impact investment funds. He has also advised on India's first USD 1 billion education outcome funds, first loss guarantees, climate finance, social stock exchange, and blended finance structure. He has been invited to be a part of World Bank task forces on innovative finance and UNDP sustainable finance initiatives as an expert. And the last speaker, Shri Ramesh Swamy, founder Unnati, as a founding member of the SGBS Unnati Foundation. He has played a key role in its development. The Unnati program was started as an initiative in the foundation with the aim of empowering underprivileged youth to pull themselves and their families out of poverty forever. The vocational training programs, holistics programs approach with emphasis on value sets Unnati apart from the rest, as that is impeccable record of 100% placements. With those words, I leave charge of this session to our session moderator, Shri Amit Bhatia, founder of Aspire Impact Ratings. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. And you can all hear me? Okay, good afternoon. And I know this appears like the night show for the morning. We're at the last end session and we're going to make it crisp. I've already requested our panelists to make it 2-3 minute, very crisp answers so we don't stand between you and the lunch. But I must say up front that, I was reminded today morning of a statement I used to frequently hear, that a vision without execution is a hallucination. And therefore today's event is special to me because we are not celebrating another proclamation of a vision, but the execution of one. So I think there's so many people involved. I was sitting there thinking with the 2 SEBI committees, the 2 exchanges, Unnati and all its team, and the number of people involved from government, regulators, exchanges, lawyers, investment bankers, subject matter experts. they all deserve a little bit of hand because they are not here in the room today. So congratulations to everyone who made this happen. So I want to start off straight away, Ramesh, with you because this is a big milestone for you personally. What does this listing mean for you and Unnati?
So it is historic. It's a very historic moment for us in Unnati. We did not think of it some time back, but what made us think is the three verticals on which our entire organization has been working. And I have said this before, I said, we start with the why. We always ask, why are we doing what we are doing? And that is what has evolved as Unnati. So one was the part of transparency, the kind of compliance and documentation, and the social impact what we create. When we make a statement in everywhere, in every document, we say that the underprivileged, the poverty line, we bring about a family above poverty line in 35 days forever. It's a very, very powerful statement, and we have been ensuring that it happens all throughout. So today when we are listed here, it is an endorsement to us of the values what we have been talking about, of the delivery what we have been doing, and it's an endorsement from the highest body in the country which says that yes, we have gone through all these, we have seen your papers, we have seen your books, and we find it fine. So it's a very, very big thing for us.
Very big endorsement. So Raymond, we just heard from Balu sir that in 2 years there will be 100 such listings. He gave some numbers of how many thousand crores might be channeled through the social stock exchange. So if this idea is indeed as successful as we all believe, what will this mean for India?
Oh yeah. This is a very new concept. It's not that philanthropy is not existing in India. It's spontaneous and it is going. What we are doing through the social stock exchange is channelizing that money. And when we channelize that into formal structure, then at least the trust factor that is missing will change. And getting those NPOs on the social stock exchange would mean a trust for giving the money. And I get confidence, whoever donates, that that's going to be utilized to whatever the objective is. That is the major thing. Right now what happens is, when I give the money, I hope that the money is going for the purpose of it. That is going to change. When I give money now through the social stock exchange, subscription to the ZCZ, I know that they are going to declare on their website the achievements, the progress. He's got regulators also sitting on his back, and this is going to be a transformational change that is going to take place. It's going to be a wonderful thing that the government of India has brought with the exchanges, two exchanges, NSE and BSE. If anybody is listed there, nobody is going to question. I from NABARD, I'm interacting with a lot of NGOs. So when anybody says they are with NABARD, nobody questions. So that sort of strength that is going to come in, change.
Trust and credibility. So Arnab, let me come to you. You're from SBI Caps, and you know that the corporate sector has such evolved over a century, an intermediary sector. Everyone who worked with Unnati, we know they were working pro bono, they were all supporting this for a cause. How will we ever build and create an effective intermediary sector like the role SBI Caps play for the social impact markets?
See, one thing is for building the intermediary bit of it, the whole process has already started. We are already engaged with Ajit Shah was talking about it. We are engaged in a couple of social impact funds that are being worked on. One thing which D'Souza sir had just mentioned about it is that the market is gradually now looking, and it needs to look at, instead of looking at it from the point of view of input funding, we are looking at in terms of the impact funding, right? What is the impact and how are you going to judge it, and then how are you going to basically look at the impact or the execution of that impact target that was initially set. When you say that social stock exchange, I would like to see it as a market for the impact funding role that has happened, and here all the intermediaries, the NGOs, will obviously come in from one side, and those people, small and large, who has the ability to basically contribute to it, will look at it, and as everyone has been saying it today in this forum, that there is a credible platform on which everyone can come in and basically work for the betterment of the sector that we want to work in. Yeah.
Thank you. And before I come up to my extreme left-hand side, does everyone here know what is the security that got listed today? You know, of course. Anyone at the back, do you know? What is it called? There are 4 alphabets. Good. Because this itself was such a big innovation, and because we're going to the legal counsel here, I wanted to bring this up. So let me come to you, Viraj, I'll come later. SEBI changed the Securities Act to create a ZCZP. They changed listing obligations, capital raising guidelines. Do you believe we have now adequate legal ecosystem to make this truly successful, the social stock exchange idea?
Sure, Amit. So I think, thanks for having me here. I think it's been quite a journey on the legal side, trying to make these sort of innovative instruments work from an outcome financing perspective. And I think it was a significant milestone having this framework in place in the first place. I think ZCZPs offer opportunities beyond just the plain listing. I think it enables listing of impact bonds as well under the current framework. I think there is a whole host of innovative products we can do. I think this is just the beginning, and I think the potential is large. Having said that, as a lawyer, I always, we take feedback from the market. There is always a few other things people ask for, whether it is, more regulatory restrictions, being removed. For example, can we have more instruments permitted to be listed on the social stock exchange by SEBI? Can we have more clarity on the tax aspects? Can we have sort of, CSR financing coming through? So, those things still remain unresolved, but even within the current framework, the potential is large, and it enables a lot of players to come onto the market.
Thank you. So Viraj, thank you to Zerodha for supporting this issue. Being a leading brokerage platform, how can you assure this group here that this is not a one-off, that Zerodha can actually put, impact maximization alongside wealth maximization? Can you?
We've committed to the first 5, organizations that list on the NSE. The idea is to create an ecosystem that enables other people to come and list. But coming to your broad point, the idea that returns maximization is objective is not necessarily true. So ESG is something that's always existed. ESG for everyone is environmental, social, governance sort of framework. So the idea is that return maximization can take a backseat for other objectives, environmental goals, social goals, be that as it may. Now, billions of dollars worldwide are sort of flowed into this, right? Whether it's retail, whether it's institutional, everyone sort of, put in money into this, believing that it's not just return maximization. There are other goals that, money can achieve. So, given that, there's great potential here. Also, my personal conjecture is that, human beings are not those utility function maximization kind of people. We're not strictly rational about a lot of things. We want to feel good about ourselves also, whether it's institutions, whether it's retail. Given that, people want to contribute to society, and something that sort of democratizes that is a great piece. So, for Zerodha, we are sort of looking at this from a, more retail, how do we enable this for retail perspective? Because there are enough institutional donors out there who are doing this in in closed rooms, but how can we sort of open this up for everyone?
Wonderful.
Because, personally, I think that an inherent need for every financial plan is that there has to be some amount of giving back to an initiative that you're passionate about. That sort of completes the picture in a way. So that's really where we are coming from on this.
Wonderful commitment. Thank you. So Ramesh, we were celebrating today, but obviously there were many obstacles you kind of would have had to cross. Can you list the top 3 or 4 obstacles that got in your way to get to this listing?
So there were many, as you said, but right from the policy, if you take that there was a peer review, Ind AS, then you had this timeline of 6 months from the date of the last balance sheet audit. just to put in perspective, I go to my chartered accountant and say that, they're here, but I said that, June, can you complete? He said, yours is an NGO, yeah. You have more time. Let me complete personal who have got 30th June, 30th July, all. But the moment we talked about this, so next year, for example, our balance sheet and every document has to be ready by the 30th of May, which is, can you imagine that an NGO's balance sheet and every document is ready by that time? It's going to be extremely challenging. It continues to be challenging. So it's not just that I just heard the risk part of it. I never thought of the risk part of it, Dr. Balu. You said that if you fail, you are out. Of course, we don't do anything to fail, so that's a different part of it. But the other side also is there. So you have a lot of challenges and you need to be on top of it. Absolutely.
Wonderful. And a lot of this appears to be around compliances, reporting, transparency, etc. And getting all this support system sitting to my left-hand side. Raymond, you building the capacity development fund. How are you going to support all these non-profits? Over 2 million, and seeing what Ramesh managed today, there's going to be a queue at NSC shortly. People showing up at your door. How do you plan to support them?
Yeah, Amit, I agree with you. People will be at my door. Because like Dr. Balu and the committees that were set up come to this capacity building fund. Now the capacity building fund is housed in NABARD. Now I've got a massive mountain in front of me because I have to build capacity. Like Dr. Balu said in the morning, it's not only the NPOs. Everybody is a stakeholder who's affected and affecting also. Now I have to, you just imagine. Now I was hoping today Unnati will be, the grand celebration, and he will be like the light for all the NPOs. Now he opened up saying that the compliances that is there. Now I'm thinking the number of NPOs may come down who will be claiming to be. But then no, the survival of the fittest over a period of 5 years, it is going to change and the best will come. You have to be the best and everybody should feel the best. Capacity building fund is there with me. NABARD. It's housed in NABARD, but I've got SEBI, I've got BSc, NSC, SIDBI and NABARD. So it's a team of 4, and there are other donors also who give support to me. I'm only the spokesperson there to do all these things, but I've got strong support with all the other 3 institutions who are helping me out on this thing. So all the NPOs are welcome, donors are welcome, regulators are welcome, because we have to change that mindset. And seeing is believing that we say. Now here, the certifications that are given has to be believed. We have to move into that stage. The social auditor is what I talk about.
Thank you. And that's critical because all these new ideas are taking time to seed. And we just heard from Ajit ji about the impact bonds.
Yes.
Imagine the support that would need as we tell. You are supporting MP government.
Just a minute before that. No? Because Dr. Balu said about non-profits. And use the word, there are other things that are profit, even Viraj was saying, other than monetary profits. So I think like we change the word non-profit to social profits, introduce a new term, that would be more acceptable. Social profit, that is there, that is going to be our selling point, the social profit.
Sure, but for today nobody should take offense. It's a SEBI committee word. It was NPO word was used there and FPO was used for corporation. So we'll use it today without offending anyone. So Arnab, I was going to come to you about, we just heard how Ajit ji had to go and build consensus for, something new. Now, as we try and get these more esoteric instruments into the game, how do you think that the support system is going to work? It's hard enough for a pure grant as ZP with impact bonds and having, some risk capital, some outcome capital. How will it work?
Yeah, it is challenging. That is a mild word. It is challenging. Twofold of challenges that we are facing. One is basically when you are talking about impact, right? Like the identification of the impacts. How are you going to measure it? And secondly, who is going to monitor it? Now there has to be somebody who identifies that these are the parameters. Sir was very categorical. They have already defined But we are not talking about one issuance, right? We are talking about this being scaled up to a big level, and he wants to be the pioneer. He's already a pioneer, and Madhya Pradesh will do this first bond, and then I'm sure others will pick up. Now, when you identify projects, then you will have to identify the parameters, and they has to be measurable, and they has to be simple, right? Simple and measurables are basically very, very contradictory terms in financial markets. And then somebody who has to monitor it and report it. What we are finding challenging at this point of time is obviously getting agencies who are going to take those roles. And secondly, the commercials associated with that. That is one bit of it. The other challenge, which is a soft challenge, is in terms of people. See, what we are talking about in terms of social impact and everything is something which is humane in nature, right? When you are trying to put that in a market, whatever we talk about, you are basically trying to put commercial value to your human sentiments. So there is a little bit of pushback. I am sure people are discussing this, and that will change. But at this point of time, some of those potential investors, when we are going and talking, especially in the wealth sector and family offices, not the people who are already convinced. Others have this thought process saying, "Main to kar raha hu already at my level," right? So why do I have to go to the market and then basically put a tag that it is actually a marketable thing rather than
well, let me explain that. How many in the audience here know what an impact bond is? Just raise your hand if you've heard this name. Okay, not many. So about 14-15 years ago in UK, a trend started in a prison. In UK, it was quite likely that if you had prisoners under 21 years of age, they will reoffend, and even if you release them, and 65% would get back to jail. And government was unable to keep them out of jails. Someone came up with this idea, maybe we get NGOs into the game who will educate these people, skill these people, keep them out, because the government cost of keeping them in the jail was very high. They raised their first impact bond about, I forget the exact number, 3 to 5 million pounds, which was, backed by the government. Government would only pay if the reoffending rate would come down by about 9%. Otherwise, the NGO's money goes into a deep well, nobody knows what happened. So government said, we'll guarantee to this NGO, saying, hey, look, you go, I will make sure you will meet each prisoner when there's released at the gate. You train this guy, put him into job, get him resettled. If you reduce by 9%, I'll give you 6% return. The reoffending rate was beaten. What government saved was over 60%. So 6% return for the investor, the outcome funder, which may be Madhya Pradesh government. Okay, but in this case, the cost of keeping those offenders out of the jail was so stupendous that this idea has taken off. So, Maya, let me come to you. At the core of all these instruments is this whole idea of efficiency, of using capital, transparency, funds alignment with the objectives. Now, with so many different parties involved, are we going to be able to retain that core of getting all the investment bankers, intermediaries, lawyers, etc., registrars, funders, donors, risk aligned on a legal document? Can you align so many people in a way that the core heart of the social sector is retained?
Yeah, that's a great question, Amit, and I think we have done it. It's taken a lot of time. It takes a lot of costs involved in doing it, but it gets more standardized. It's getting easier. There is capacity building happening across all stakeholders. And just to take a step back, let me share the story of how we did the impact bonds. Now there are 5 or 6 we have launched. They had 16 parties, so it's not like small bonds, right? We are negotiating with all these people. There are for-profits, there are non-profits, there are quasi-governmental entities involved, and these are, I'll come to the listed part and the potential it has, but then the unlisted impact bonds, right? We have managed to, the instrument is designed in a way where the financial and the other outcomes, everybody is aligned. Government gets, taxpayer money savings. They get actual outcomes. The risk investor gets returns. There is better targeting and selection of the implementing agencies. The NGOs who are good at doing what they do, it's another form of raising money for them, right? Yes, they have to do more capacity building, they have to be more transparent, more accountable, and they're more focused on outcomes. but we've also seen it result in more innovation, because you're not talking about deploying money, saying these are my 10 line items and you have to expend it a certain way. We are saying I want this outcome. How you get from point A to point B is not our problem. And NGOs are experimenting and sharing stories on innovation. So this is an ecosystem that's actually building out in a way for everybody to be aligned. Yes, the documentation part is still, the transaction costs are coming down when I see. And the interesting thing is, in 3 years, 5 years of impact bonds that we have done as off-market transactions, the capacity building has happened across the sector. That last week the NGOs are asking the funders, saying that, you know, we want a seat at the table while defining outcomes. Where is the equity in this definition, right? So if you're saying I want to pay per education outcome, you say that the girl children or the children with learning disabilities, they get excluded. So how are we putting more incentives to make this an equitable outcome so that there's no perverse financial incentive, right? So the conversation is being elevated from both sides, and I think we're all meeting in the middle. And what Social Stock Exchange presents, and with the government coming on board, we have done for NSDC, they're talking about outcome-based financing and skilling. And it's fantastic to see MP government to kind of take this pioneering position, because ultimately the confidence to the market comes from seeing the government getting into this space. I mean, if the government is in it, then it's a safe space for everybody to come in, and that's what boosts the market.
No, and the transaction cost you mentioned is a core, because 15 years on, we have less than 500 odd impact bonds around the world, which is not a great number. So we need to fix that. So coming to you, Viraj, there's been this mention of risk return. And if you're trying to take this idea retail, communicating this risk return idea is not going to be easy. It is very easy in the corporate wealth maximizing sector. Okay, here's the risk. How does Zerodha think this story can be told on why an Indian on the street can use the social stock exchange mechanism and donate to a listed, ZCZP? How will this risk return be communicated?
So I'll actually answer that in both parts. So I mean, I wear two hats at the Rainmatter Foundation, where we are sort of like working on climate change mitigation and livelihoods, and on the other hand, how do we sort of talk for retail? So on the first bit, as you said about the institutions, I mean, the institution already has a commitment to the cause. So internally at Rainmatter Foundation, because our themes are more around, like climate change mitigation and livelihoods, we sort of think about it as investing in the future. We don't think about it as grants, simply because, I mean, wealth maximization really has no point if there isn't a healthy, sustainable planet for our children and our grandchildren to sort of enjoy the benefits of. So that, I mean, to that extent, from an institutional perspective, we're fairly clear. Also, I mean, the advantage of an institution is that, you can sort of talk to the founders, you can understand the organization, you have like, due diligence processes and so on, which makes the case a little easier. As far as retail is concerned, retail doesn't really get, access to an organization, say management, or they don't really, they don't have access to due diligence reports or, impact assessments and so on. So for retail, the problem is primarily about trust. How do we sort of, build trust to put this out? So now internally at Zerodha, this is, I mean, when we started the Rainmatter Foundation back in 2020, we had thought about, how do we sort of open this up for retail? The problem we really saw there was of, about liability. Like if something goes wrong, who is responsible? Because we put this out to our customers, right? Which is why we have never really sort of put out social projects out there. That can change with the social stock exchange. Now that we have the same regulator, like we know that there are audits happening at the back end, the liability sort of shifts to, it shifts away from us. Now the idea for us is, so we have, say, this portfolio page. You have, say, like a customer has, say, this much to equity, this much to bonds. Can we sort of just add a tab there which says invest for the future? Now because we're a money management app, we have like the full attention of our customers, right? The customer is fully tuned in when he's looking at the portfolio page. What if we just sort of add a button there, invest for the future, and that can sort of link to, Unnati or any of the other organizations that end up listing. So that's broadly how we're thinking about it. The idea is SSC sort of solves that problem for us internally, which is why we've been, excited about this from day one.
No, very critical. And if you solve that reputation risk problem more than the liability, that comes to haunt the most. Final set of questions, and then you are all free men and women. Ramesh, again, I'll continue on this storytelling with you. There are 2 million non-profits. How do you tell your story well so you can get on stage like this in future and get listed? How do you think about communication and storytelling of your purpose, your impact?
So we had a dream, when we started, we had a dream. We said, we all come across maid servants, their daughter, and all that. So when you ask them, what is the story about yours? She will say, when I was 17, 18, I was given in marriage because my father was a drunkard, no money coming in. And 3-4 years after her marriage, history repeats. If she had come to us at the age of 18, 35 days, she's earning anywhere between 15 to 20,000 rupees. A generation goes above poverty line. Go take it forward, fast forward 4 years, 5 years, she's earning something 30,000 rupees. She's not given in marriage because the reason why she's not given in marriage is she's the main breadwinner into the family. When she eventually gets married, she marries somebody who's earning 40,000 rupees, 30, 40,000 rupees. You've moved a family from just 10,000 less to something like 70, 80,000. But more important, that lady will ensure that her children actually get into education. So that's the power of the storytelling. So number one, you must have a story to talk. Number two, you must have a vision and mission in place, right? Number three, which I feel is extremely important, is the core values of your organization, which drives your organization. It must be music to many people's ears who are in the process of getting listed. They're all here, many people listed and even registered. I heard Ajit sir talk about, if you're not on SSC, I would not want to deal with you. I heard just now Viraj sir say that, we will put it up and say they are all regulated by SEBI, by exchanges. So this is a major reason why NPOs must develop this aspect. And NGOs work from a platform of passion. The moment you shift, add empathy to it, automatically love, care and concern comes in, and you are moving away from a platform of sympathy, which is extremely important to be very, very objective and purpose-driven.
Thank you. And I'm changing the order a little because in that thread, Arnab, the question is, you put as an investment banker your name to the impact story that is being told by a non-profit. And it should worry you if that impact is not assured or not audited, and that story might have the reputational risk Viraj was mentioning. How will you assure that the story being told is truly audited and you can also put your name on the line for that?
Yeah, so that is where these exchanges and the stakeholders come into considerations, and they become important in the sense that who are, obviously whenever we are thinking about it right now, whomever the assignments that we are discussing currently, it depends on who are the people at the background of it, what has been what has been the history behind them, and what are they working towards, right? I need to be convinced to take up an assignment. These assignments, obviously, as you would know, these are at the pioneering stage. The work, the effort and the rewards do not match, but it is something which needs to be done, because this is eventually will grow up into something which will be impacting the society. So to answer your question, it is kind of one, the convincing that needs to be done by ourselves, and then secondly, to be convinced about the project that we are working on, right? So that is how we will evaluate it, how we have been evaluating it. Yeah.
And I'm going to give you, Maya and Viraj, the final messages, but the final question, Raymond, is to you. I don't know if you saw maybe 2 months back, the former SEBI chairman wrote a op-ed saying CSR funds should be allowed, on the social stock exchange. They are not currently. Do you feel if you could ask for one wish from the government, what would that be? What is that one regulation still pending that could catalyze this idea?
In one word, if you want me to say, is that you encourage the flow of money into the stock exchange. How do you do that? Give the incentives. Now reducing it to 10,000 means I'm mass basing it. It's crowd based, crowd funding. But as an NPO, he has to raise some 50 lakh, right? That is the minimum size that he wants. So for 50 lakh, he has to spend sleepless nights. And if somebody is going to give contribution of 10,000 rupees, that 10,000 multiplied to come to 50 lakh is going to be a huge, huge task. And the window open is 3 to 10 days. Now in those 7 days, in those 10 days, he has to raise 50 lakhs. So unless the government incentivizes it by way of CSR, ATG, but now ATG again there is a mixed reaction because of the fact that new regime has come in, all those tax incentives go up. So major money that flows in would be the CSR. Then there are organizations like NABARD and all that we are there because it's a part of our activity for rural development. Now like in his Unnati listing, we did support him both ways. Use the capacity building fund to help him out in the entire process of listing and also subscribing to his bond, to the instrument that way. So unless now NABARD as an institution being my job to do it, I'm not looking for tax incentive. But Aam Janata to be encouraged has to get some incentive to come in. My other request is that awareness of the social stock exchange is lacking. And the request that I want to make to the audience here who's here, do speak about the social stock exchange at every forum that you can. The other day when I was traveling, I met a guy who was sitting next to me who was from an NBFC. He was doing a lot of it. The moment he heard NABARD, he said, sir, I want to do this and all that. That profit margin coming. When I mentioned to him that I also handle social stock exchange, NBFC into the finance field, he said, is social stock exchange chalu hua hai? Now, that's an eye-opener for him. Now we are sitting here, we are talking about so many things. I'm got the capacity building fund. My job is also to create this awareness, apart from building the capacity. And that's why this thing, what I said just now, is a capacity building fund. So please do speak, so that both sides of the coin will be interested in this thing. NGOs will. We require a lot of help.
Good point. Raymond just appointed 100 ambassadors here.
I will just take half a minute. My addition to this question is because it's such an important question you have asked, and as an NPO I can tell you one thing, that we had a 35 AC till 2018 which was 100% tax exempt and for purposes and causes, and suppose you're building a building till that time it is created. I feel that SSC must get that benefit of 100% tax exemption, bring in HNIs and smaller investments into it so that they find purpose, they know that it is a limited period of time and they are getting that kind of benefit. It could make a huge, huge difference and money will flow in.
Sure. Thank you. Maya, and then we'll close with Viraj. Your final messages to others who will be aspiring to be in Ramesh's seat, knowing very few get there, in India out of the 2 million, just half a dozen or 10 are 100 crore plus. Most non-profits in India are, subsidized. For them to afford this ecosystem is not easy. Many might be just thinking, this is not for us. So what would you tell them, your message?
Sure. So, so I think getting them to the platform is the first, part of the step. And one is, popularizing the SSC, the instruments and options. It's not just ZP. MP government will probably be the first listed impact bond in the world. So we are launching products that the world has not tried before. But for that, as I said, coming to market means you need more accountability, institutional capacity, and that building has to happen. Of course, with the SSC Development Fund, there are discussions going, how can we reduce the cost of entry into this? How can we temporarize some of this, intermediary costs or some of the legal documentation perhaps? I think there's going to require the whole ecosystem to come together. Some funders, non-profit funders are interested in supporting the ecosystem development by sharing learnings, by setting up, by financing the actual capacity building at the NGO level. It's going to take intermediaries and the market regulators and the intermediaries to come together and have this sort of continuous conversation with the NGOs and have that learnings translated and it builds capacity over a period of time. Because when I think back to 5 years back, we were talking about outcome financing. You of course have been in it far longer than even I have. I think today when I go to conferences, it's becoming more mainstream, more people know about it, more people are aware of the possibilities, and I think that's really where this is going to get more traction from. And once the size gets better, and of course we do need with every additional regulatory clarity or permission that we get, and the easier it becomes, intermediary costs go down, we make it easier and the volume goes up, so the depth will go increase. So that's how I see this playing out, but yeah, very excited.
Thank you, thank you. Viraj will end with you. Non-profits here are asking, what do donors want? So what do you want?
Just more transparency. I think there are enough donors out there. From a retail perspective, we think the act of giving forward is a very fundamental part of your overall financial portfolio, planning. For us, most of our customers are in the top 1, 2, 3, 5% of this country. We need to sort of be self-sufficient in that those 1, 2, 3% need to do something for the other 80%, who might not be so lucky. So that's broadly how we are thinking about it. We want to push it to our clients. We want to sort of like nudge them in the right direction, and we've been brainstorming how. We'll see how that goes. The idea is to sort of create social media posts or like send out app pushes and so on. We'll see how that goes. But broadly, we need to be self-sufficient, and the only way is if retail sort of takes the onus.
If one thing this country has enough of is patience. We took 4 years and 2 committees to get here, and on that note, please give our panelists a big round of applause. We are done with this panel.
So we'll open it for a question or two. Max 2 questions. We have time for 2 questions. Anybody?
This is amazing timekeeping. I must congratulate you on that, and therefore I'll be brief. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the foreign funds for social stock exchange. What is the thought on that? Is there anything on the pipeline on that particular part? I am from the Unnati team.
Well, I am not an authority, but based on whatever I know, and Raymond may tell more, for now, CSR funds, foreign funds, they are untouchable, a no-no. So I think this is the India initiative for India, by Indians. This is going to stay Swadeshi for a while.
Do we see any more hands going up? Yes. And that will be the last question.
सर, ये फंड रेजिंग होगा, उसके अंदर लोग पैसा 10,000 मिनिमम डालेंगे. किसी ने 1 लाख रुपया आईपीओ में डाला तो उसको जो 1 लाख रुपीस आईपीओ कैसे जनरेट होगा, उसको क्या मिलेगा और उसका क्या सिस्टम कैसा है? मतलब ये डोनेशन बेस है कम्प्लीटली, चैरिटी बेस है कम्प्लीटली, कि उसके ऊपर गवर्नमेंट कुछ रिटर्न देती है?
I think I followed. We couldn't hear you well, but you are asking, suppose you contribute to this, the ZCZP instrument gets credited to your demat account?
Correct.
The day we give a time frame of 12 months, 3 months, 6 months for the project to be over, the day the project gets over, that day that ZCZP instrument value becomes 0. We have issued a ZCZP instrument for ₹1. So for example, Zerodha has given 1 crore, so they get 1 crore ZCZP instrument into their demat. It's already there. And we closed the project on 6th of December 2024. That day, that bond, that instrument cost value becomes 0. That's how it happens.
Okay.
So we're taking just one more question. The mic is already with the gentleman. Yes.
Could I answer your question, or it was a different question?
आप क्या बोले? यहाँ पे सुनाई नहीं दिया.
मेरा कहना ये था कि ये आईपीओ हुआ तो वो डिपॉजिट कौन करेंगे? आईपीओ ओपन हुआ तो मिनिमम 10,000 रुपीस who will be pay? I will pay. And how will we get the refund? Yeah, it is on donation base or charity base
ये जो इंस्ट्रूमेंट है,
हाँ,
जीरो कूपन जीरो प्रिंसिपल, मतलब उन्होंने जो प्रोजेक्ट डाला हुआ है उसका कुछ कलावती हो 1 साल में कुछ काम करेंगे, उसके लिए वो पैसा जमा कर रहा है थ्रू ZCZP जो बोलते हैं, जीरो कूपन मतलब कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं मिलेगा उस पर,
बराबर है,
प्रिंसिपल मिलेगा, तो टर्म खत्म होने के बाद जीरो हो जाएगा।
ओके,
आपको पैसा नहीं मिलेगा, आप दान दे रहे हो, आप दान दे रहे हो एक पर्टिकुलर कॉज के लिए,
ओके,
आप कुछ कार्यक्रम कोई इनका काम क्या था, ये 10,000 यूथ को एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी में शामिल करेंगे कि ताकि उनको 10,000 को जॉब मिलेगा या अपने कुछ काम करेंगे। तो स्टूडेंट्स जो है पास आउट हो रहे हैं, तो उन्होंने वो प्रोजेक्ट डाला हुआ 1 साल में करेंगे,
करेक्ट,
तो एंड ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट में जीरो कूपन, मतलब कोई ब्याज नहीं मिलेगा, कोई प्रॉफिट नहीं मिलेगा उसमें, और प्रिंसिपल भी आपने दान दिया तो आपका डीमैट अकाउंट में वो शून्य हो जाए।
ओके, मतलब इट इज टोटली डोनेशन बेस्ड, चैरिटी बेस्ड, यस, अंडरस्टैंड।
Thank you again. So,
Please go ahead.
Should I go?
Yep.
okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so my question is really about scale. When we're talking social enterprises, we're saying social ecological scale. So for scale, we know we need to mix.
Can you be a little louder, please?
My question is around scale. Yeah, so we need to do scale up of solving these problems, the scale up of our impact. Is there some thought of mixing social enterprises which are not for profits and for profits and helping that ecosystem build within the framework of NABARD, SSC to drive that scalability?
Yeah, right now the framework that is provided for, and where we were also coming into it, right, we are focusing on the non-profit, right? For profit, okay, they may come in later on. There are established companies who are already, there's a platform on the MSME which can also raise. Future, of course, it is an evolving field where as we learn over a period of time, we'll come in for it. There is an advisory committee, Dr. Balu heads that. All proposals, all everything that comes in, we get discussed over there. They make a recommendation to SEBI. SEBI regulates and then it notifies. Like for example, now what we had problem on our hands was 1 crore was the listing size. Then we thought there are NPOs in the country who cannot be thinking 1 crore. So we said, okay, let's bring it down to 50 lakh. It was discussed threadbare. Then again came the question was 2 lakh to invest. Who will invest 2 lakh? But I want to invest. I got suddenly a streak in me which is a philanthropic thing. I want to do something. Aaj mera beta ka birthday hai. I want to give something somewhere. So if I got something where I can give, but 2 lakh, I'll think twice. I'm not that philanthropic to give suddenly 2 lakh from my pocket. So 10,000 may entice me to give 10,000. That's the way we thought of. So I may be, the question that you raised, scalability, we may be in a position to do later on as we learn. Thank you.
So we will have to close the open house due to paucity of time. Ma'am, maybe you can take it offline after this is over. Could I request Shri Ashish Kumar Chauhan, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, NSE, to kindly step up on stage and present mementos to the experts, beginning with our panel moderator, Shri Amit Bhatia, founder of Aspire Impact Ratings. Go ahead. Move aside, move aside, move aside, move aside. Shri Arnab Chaudhary, Executive Vice President and Group Head, SBI Caps. Shri Raymond D'Souza, Chief General Manager, NABARD. Shri Virat Joshi, AVP, Regulatory and Policy, Zerodha. Shri Mayappan Nagappan, Partner, Tax, Environmental, Social and Governance, ESG Trilegal. Shri Ramesh Swami, Founder Director, SGBS Unnati Foundation. Sir, yes, this, ladies and gentlemen, is a photo frame. This contains the picture which we clicked a few moments back during the bell ringing. So we will present it first to Shri Ramesh Swami, Founder Director, SGBS Unnati Foundation.
Good good finally meeting you, and I'm going back. Just after this, I have a 5 o'clock flight. But we'll stay in touch. You know, this is my card. If I may not have given you my card, Mayor, that's my...
Another picture frame for Shri Virat Joshi, AVP Regulatory and Policy, Zerodha.
Yeah, thank you. Raymond? This is my card. We'll stay in touch. Anyway, we see each other on the governing council, but you can talk.
Could I request Shri Raymond D'Souza, CGM NABARD, to please stay back for a moment? So please accept this photo frame.
How are you doing? Good.
Could I request Shri R. Balasubramaniam? Yes, sir. Chairman of the Advisory Committee of SEBI, to please step up on stage and accept this memento from Shri Ashish Kumar Chauhan, MD and CEO, NSC. This, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, are the moments captured in the form of photographs which we clicked a while ago. All right, thank you. I will now request Shri Dr. Harish Ahuja, Head PSD, Carbon and Power Markets Investor Awareness Services, Primary Market Relationship, to please step up on stage for the closing remarks and also to propose the vote of thanks thereafter. Could I request everybody to please take your seats just a few moments more, please?
I know I'm keeping people away from the lunch, but let me finish quickly. Shri Ajit Keshri, Additional Chief Secretary, Finance, Government of Madhya Pradesh, Shri R. Balasubramaniam, Chairman, Advisory Committee, SEBI, Shri Ramesh Swami, Director, SGB Unnati Foundation, Shri Raymond D'Souza, NABARD, Shri Arnav Chaudhary, Executive Vice President, Shri Virat Joshi, Shri Amit Bhatia. Good afternoon, all of you. As we draw the curtains on this momentous day, I stand here with a heart full of gratitude and a sense of profound accomplishment. The celebration which we witness today is a significant stride towards a future where philanthropy, finance and impact converge all at once towards a meaningful change. Let me extend my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you who graced this occasion. Your support and enthusiasm have added immeasurable value to the historic listing of Unnati ZCZP, the first non-profit organization in the social stock exchange. Today marks an important milestone in the realization of vision articulated by our Honorable Finance Minister in her budget speech in 2019-20. We like to extend our gratitude to the working committees of SEBI, NSE Social Stock Exchange Governing Council for the innumerable contribution and support in making this vision now a reality. A heartfelt thank you to our esteemed dignitaries and thought leaders who joined us here today. We extend our gratitude to SEBI, NPO Unnati, bankers, legal advisors, generous donors. Your collaborative efforts have facilitated this listing and set the ball rolling for other NPOs to follow. A special thanks to Sri Ajit Keshri for the keynote address and Dr. R. Balasubramaniam for the insightful fireside chat that set the tone for an engaging panel discussion today afternoon. To our distinguished panelists, your perspective on outcome-based philanthropy and the potential of SSC have enriched our understanding today. The bell ringing today lights up new possibilities and marks the beginning of era of performance-based philanthropy. In the end, let me remind you, all of us here, it is just a beginning. And it's our first step, and we have miles to cover. It is said that if you like to go fast, go alone. But if you like to go far, go together. So thank you all for joining us today here at NSE, for taking this first step together, because we aspire to go far, far, far. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Ahuja. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude this event. Kindly proceed for lunch that has been arranged in the adjoining foyer to my right, your left. This is Manasi taking a leave. Have a great day ahead. Thank you all.